All right. So some coverage yesterday, the selection of Kamala Harris. I personally, I think a disastrous pick. Here's the problem, as I discussed yesterday with a friend of mine who is, no, I'm just going to leave out who she is because I don't want to get her in any trouble. But I discussed the pick and she asked me my opinion. And I said, the selection of Kamala Harris as Joe Biden's vice presidential running mate is a disaster for a number of reasons. Biden had boxed himself in, folks. He boxed himself in by telling everyone he was going to pick a woman and then hinting later that it would be a woman who was, what they said, woman of color. Now, he only had a few choices there. Stacey Abrams, who we can't pick because she thinks she's the governor of Georgia still. So she was out. So she's tied up being the fake governor of Georgia. So she was out. Then they had Karen Bass, who is a black woman who works as a representative in Congress. But Bass had issues because some comments came out of her supporting socialists, which would sink her chances in Florida, where, Cubans, Joe, who were nearly killed by socialists in Southern Florida, kind of have a hard time voting for, kind of understandable, right?
Yeah.
Susan Rice, he had a big issue with, obviously, because, she has more baggage than JFK Carousel 22. I mean, there was no way you could pick Susan Rice. So by the process of elimination, he had the dreadful Kamala Harris. Now, as I said in the beginning of the show, Joe Biden's the chaos candidate. He is the chaos candidate because he's an empty vessel. You may say, well, Joe doesn't sound like the chaos guy. That's the point. Joe doesn't know what he sounds like because Joe doesn't even know he's running for president. He is an empty vessel that liberal Democrats are filling. See this? They're filling the glass with crazy stuff. That's the problem with Joe. He's not there. So he picks Kamala Harris, who's a radical leftist. And the worst part about this is Kamala Harris dropped out before the Iowa caucus. She had a dreadful presidential campaign. Dreadful. She got no attention whatsoever. I think she was like fifth in her own home state of California. Nobody liked Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate. So when she ran on her own, she was terrible. There were two pieces of her campaign for president, however, that were memorable. It's not a joke. And they were. I had to write this down so I don't forget. Memorable moments from Kamala Harris. First was implying that Joe Biden's a racist. That was number one. I'll play some video for you in a second. Not only was she celebrated for implying that Joe Biden is a racist, the media called her a rising star for it. A star is born. Like, tell me something good. It was like the movie with, what's her name? Lady Gaga and Brad, whatever his face is. She should have been in there. Kamala Harris. She could have been on stage singing that song, The Shallows. There's something in the modern world. She could have been up on Rising Star. Star is Born. They loved her for implying Biden is a racist. They loved her. Second most memorable part was right before Joe Biden jumped in. Kamala Harris said, listen, gropey, touchy-feely Joe, quote the Hill, I believe his accusers. So Kamala Harris thinks he's a gropey guy. Gropey, touchy, sniffing, the sniffer?
Oh, yeah.
Joe the sniffer, sniffing everything? Like he's like a bomb dog or something, sniffing. What is he doing? Why is he always sniffing people? It's weird. And women were like, he makes me super uncomfortable. It's weird. Guy, just a piece of advice, just keep your hands to yourself. Just stop touching people. It's just weird. Don't be giving people unwanted massages. It's weird. They don't want your massages. Just no massages, Joe. Stop the massages. It's weird. It's super weird. So just to be clear, Kamala Harris is known for implying Biden's a racist who's really super gropey and thinks he's a massage therapist. This is weird. Okay. Hat tip the great researchers at Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. They're terrific. Here's a little montage. I had to cut off about 30 seconds of this because it was 2 minutes long. In the interest of time, here's about 1:30 of the media, the left-wing media, celebrating Kamala Harris when she basically implied that Joe Biden was a racist for opposing busing. Remember, A Star is Born. Tell me something good. Here you go, right here. Check this out.
Your performance last night is certainly what people are talking about this morning. I'm hearing words like "a star is born."
And the night's big star, Senator Kamala Harris, had the breakout moment that her campaign's been looking for.
A star was born. Her name is Kamala Harris.
I mean, a star was born.
Well, George, Kamala Harris's campaign this morning is certainly riding high. She didn't just have one breakout moment, she had several.
There were 10 Democratic candidates on the debate stage last night, but it was Senator Kamala Harris who stole the spotlight.
It was so crystal clear that Kamala Harris just completely commanded that stage. I think Kamala Harris owned the night.
Listen, a star was born tonight. This is a masterful performance.
This was her debate. This was Kamala Harris's moment.
That swivel of Vice President Biden's head toward Kamala Harris, and she said, "That little girl was me." That was him and everybody else in that room looking to see the new frontrunner in the Democratic presidential nomination race.
Biden was front and center, but so were his vulnerabilities, as Senator Kamala Harris made very clear and very personal in what's arguably not just the most dramatic moment of the debate, but the entire primary season so far.
This is it. This is what she's remembered for. Implying Joe Biden's a racist. Star is born. Lady Gaga on stage. They should just... This is where we need Carpe Donktum back on social media. He's over on Parler with us, but he used to do these memes. Superimpose her face on Lady Gaga singing, "A star is born. A star is born." Called Joe Biden or implied he's a racist. A star is born. Put up that Hill thing again, if you don't mind. And again, just remember, so she's famous for two reasons, implying Gropey Joe is gropey and implying, in fact, through the media. There we go. Harris, I believe Biden's accusers, and implying that Joe Biden is a racist. Now, what's the problem with Kamala Harris outside of the fact that she thinks Joe Biden is a gropey potential racist? It's kind of a big problem. But what's the even bigger problem? The problem is Biden's not there. Everybody knows that. You get that, right? Everybody understands that. But he's not there. He's cognitively not capable of being the president of the United States. And my sources are telling me it's getting worse, as I've said to you repeatedly on the show, by the second. That they're afraid by the day he's not going to make it through the election. I don't mean make it that he's going to die. I mean make it that his cognitive abilities are degenerating so quickly that they can't hide him fast enough. Even before the election. Forget about him getting elected. I'm not kidding. These sources are very good. I'll leave it at that. So the problem is Joe Biden's not there to tell you who Joe Biden is because he's forgetting who Joe Biden is. And far left liberal radicals, it's true, Joe, are taking advantage of the empty vessel Joe Biden has sadly become. He is falling apart. To pour things into the vessel and fill it with insane radical leftist stuff. So you don't believe me? Biden's a total empty vessel, a tabula rasa, the chaos candidate. The chaos candidate in that he's personally chaotic because he doesn't even know who he is. He's being forced down his throat, liberal street chaos policies, like redistributing money away from cops. And he's being forced down his throat Bernie Sanders tax hikes, which are going to bankrupt you and your business. This guy is the chaos candidate, Biden. He can't control the chaos because he can't control himself. You don't believe me? Look at this photo, this screenshot taken from social media yesterday. Whose hand is that? It's not mine. This is a screenshot taken from Joe Biden when he was telling Kamala Harris via a Zoom call that she was his selection for vice president. What's wrong with this picture when they zoomed in? It's Joe Biden's hand holding an iPhone. You'll notice that the iPhone is upside down. He apparently doesn't even know how to hold an iPhone. It is the wrong way.
Yeah.
Secondly, you'll notice that there is a note there where we zoomed in, and it is a note with a script to read to Kamala Harris. And one of the lines says, quote, "I'm calling you today." You needed a note to tell her why you're calling her? You're picking her for vice president. You're not asking her if you want to pick up some croutons at the local supermarket, dude. You're asking her if she wants to be the vice president. You need a note for that? I mean, really? I'm calling you today. Next sentence. To notify you. Next sentence. That you are my pick for vice president. Holy crap, I forgot that too. She's my pick. He doesn't even know she's the pick. He had to be reminded about his own pick. Folks, the guy needed a note to tell Kamala Harris why he was calling her. You know, sometimes when I go on Fox, if I have a lot to say, I'll take a few bullet points so I remember. I'll scratch them on a pad. But that's like 1 out of every 10 hits. I just usually keep it in my head because you don't want to be looking down at notes, right? I promise you, I have never had to go on Fox and Friends with a note, like introducing who I am. Like, hello, Brian and Steve and Ainsley. I'm Dan Bongino, and I'm a Fox News contributor. You don't know why you're calling her? Not going to hear about that one in the news, are you? The guy needed a note. His iPhone. He's holding his iPhone upside down. Here, the charging port, that's the downside. Hello? Hello? It's the wrong side, dude. The speaker's at the bottom. Oh, my gosh. You know how you know it's upside down? The numbers read backwards, right? Look, when you're telling the time, the numbers are backwards. That's kind of a hint. He probably didn't even know that. It's 10:51. He thought it was 15:01.
You just heard Dan Bongino.